So let's hear today Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So last time we read from 6th chapter entitled Dhyana Yoga, text 26. So we will just repeat. Well, we can read everything again. It's very short. Or actually, we'll just read the text. Vivek, you done? You want to finish? Yeah, no problem. Okay. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurumidiktam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Paraya Krishna Vrishtabhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Nami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Chadani Vishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Rishitari. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Sati Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Maybe mic a little louder. Slightly a little louder, so I save my voice. I always have to shout. Harbo, Harbo, Harbo. Hare Krishna. Yeah, one of those, huh? A little better. No more. Harbo. Okay, fine. Touch that other one also. Not that one. Wait. Okay. So what did we discuss last time? Last Thursday, is there anyone who remembers anything? Any points? You were not there. You're serious? No. It's dead. Okay. Yes.
Marriages are suffering.
Yeah, wait a second. But that's how. But in what was the real context of the? What was the topic? That's there. But was that on Thursday or that was on Saturday? Thursday also. How did it come in?
It was your first lecture.
Okay. Bolo.
The material energy will not affect you when we come to the stage of Prema Bhakti.
Okay, material. Well, when you come to stage of Prema Bhakti, you don't have material body anymore. Where's the question of material energy affecting you? Or what's the point? I mean, you're telling me or you're telling to everyone certain okay, let's put it this way, certain points, fine, but in regards to what? What is the context? How do we understand what you're mentioning? How is that? How can anyone relate to that? What is the little broader picture of it? Because it doesn't tell. You see, if you just say something like this, it doesn't tell much. What was the context that we discussed at that point?
That Jamin was affected by the Maya when he was going to Krishna Kava for the Lord.
Okay. So that means that his state of mind has been affected by certain environment or activities that happen within that environment. Okay, I will just remind you. And maybe those who have been present and those who haven't, they will hear at least. It said, Yato nischalati manas chanchalam asthiram tatastato niyam yaitat atmanyeva vasham nyayet. Very nice verse, it's very poetic. No? So what is Krishna saying? He says that from wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. What is self? Self is the soul. So the soul has the capacity to control the mind. But nowadays that's not pretty much the case. It's the other way around. The soul had allowed the mind to control itself. So the mind nowadays is controlling the soul. What really the soul desires, that's not what's happening. What is happening is what mind desires. Because we have programmed the mind in such a way that mind is predominating energy or the medium for material desires. So the mind is creating all kinds of different options for the living being or the soul to think that it's becoming happy and satisfied and flying within this material world. So it's just the other way around. So that's why here it says that the mind, wherever mind wanders, if somebody is trained, controlled, educated spiritually, then one can withdraw the mind. Does anyone have, of course everybody has, but maybe one should kind of a little bit meditate, contemplate about it. Experience of being attracted to something that is not good. Think about it a little bit. You're attracted to something that it's not good, it's not going to affect you favorably. It's going to affect you in a very negative way, but still the mind is attracted and mind starts contemplating. Everybody has that experience? Think about it a little bit. Hi, you want to share? Like so bad that you don't want to share it. Okay. Finally. So everybody has that experience. And then, okay, is there anyone who wants to share something that's not so bad? Yes.
Do you think last 1 year or 2 years I was addicted to a video game called Minecraft?
Okay, don't mention the name. It doesn't matter.
So I was addicted.
I never heard of it, but I'm just, Okay, so
I was addicted too much that I was thinking of the game.
okay, so you were affected by the video game. Okay. Yes.
Before coming to Krishna consciousness, I was like very affected with music and movies and these things.
Okay, so visual effects also. Okay, so that's similar. That's pretty much similar. Something a little bit different. Well,
Prabhuji, as
that's very common name that's out. Yeah, it is. I just spoke to one just a few minutes ago. Anyway.
Prabhuji, I was affected with like risking my life for very not the things which are worth it, like going at high speeds and doing stuff.
Okay, so that's also like some kind of thrills. Fast driving. Okay.
Eating up.
Anybody else wants to share something?
Eating outside food.
Eating outside food. Woo. Okay. Like I said, I was on that airport, big airport, it's an enormous airport, one of the biggest in the world. Anyway, I won't mention the name now again, it doesn't matter. It's like, but it had so many varieties of things. And of course, people who would pass by, they would just become glued to it and they had to eat some horrible, untouchable things. So yes, mind can be attracted because mind is just, it responds to certain impressions that have been impressed within it. From some earlier times that might have caused certain attraction and some, underquote, pleasant experience. Of course, there are different modes of material nature. There is mode of tamas, that's mode of ignorance. And within that mode, then somebody may find something that is the most abominable to be the most pleasurable. So it's not all the same. Things are predominantly governed again by three qualities of nature. And one may be the worst one, and that is mode of ignorance. And then one may create such an impression. One may create such an impression that whatever it's pretty much abominable to the mode of goodness, it might be very attractive to the mode of ignorance, and therefore the mind is shaped in a particular way. So then when one starts practicing devotional service, and when it's exposed to higher modes and greater benefits, but then still those earlier impressions may be retained within the mind that this is something good, but actually it might not be good. So then it takes some time of purification that mind starts or becomes remodeled and starts considering what used to be the most pleasurable to be actually most abominable. But that is possible by understanding, by knowledge, by higher taste. Otherwise, it's not possible. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult. So, also like this, when we say mind is attracted to something that can be very dangerous, I mean, it's just so obvious. Where did I see? Yeah, again, same thing. Airport. What more impressions can you have than on the airport? Everything is like you're just bombarded with all kinds of impressions, stimuli. It's like kind of visual. Different kinds of audio things, it's like, sound, it's kind of sense, all kinds of different things. And then there was, I think, there was at one place, there were like different kinds of stacks of cigarettes, different kinds of varieties of packs of cigarettes. And on each and every one, it has been mentioned, the cigarette smoking will kill you. Yeah. On each and every one. And still, just imagine, you have information, you have knowledge, and very often there is display of certain cancer that one may develop even, and still people are smoking. Still people will buy that whole pack, maybe more than that, stock it, and then keep on smoking. And just see. So you have everything, you have information, your mind is guided, but again, because of addiction, because of such a strong impression, the mind cannot resist. Just recently I talked to one boy who just had a very gross fall down from the spiritual practice, some illicit relationship. And it's just kind of inconceivable that why this happens. Don't laugh, why are you laughing? This is not funny, It's very serious business, why this happens? Because mind has those impressions, and then whenever it's not involved with Krishna consciousness, then it's being dragged towards something that it used to do before. And it's most disgusting, just small, somebody who's just like, wow, I can't even imagine, just having such kind of, that's why I said that this is so abominable. Anyway, we won't discuss this now. We'll discuss that on Saturday. So that's why mind has all kinds of impressions. But then when we come to Krishna consciousness, we should start using our intelligence. That means we should start by, based on knowledge, discriminating. That's the whole point. Discrimination is very important quality of intelligence. And that intelligence can be fortified by information, by knowledge. So then one can analyze something. That's another function of intelligence, using the reason, the logic, and then try to understand, okay, if I perform certain activities, if I act in a certain way, whether my mind likes it or not, whether it be beneficial, again, or not. So that's what has to be done. This is what intelligence is meant for. Otherwise, it means we are not using intelligence. Otherwise, we are misusing intelligence. Of course, nowadays you can misuse we have been practically trained to misuse intelligence in so many different ways. We can misuse it for all kinds of sinful activities. And we think this is very intelligent. No, that's not intelligent. That means intelligence becomes subservient to the mind's demands. And that's very unfortunate. That's absolutely unfortunate. And when it becomes slave of mind, slave of all kinds of addictions, and intelligence has no strength to pull the mind out of it, but it, on the contrary, just kind of drags the mind deeper and deeper into it. And then what is one's life? What kind of life one can have when one is just a slave to certain addictions? It's when it's forced to act, like Arjuna is asking Krishna in 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. What is that force that compels one to act against one's will? What is that will? Will is transcendental. Will is, at least even on the level of intelligence, it is based on some knowledge. But even while knowing, like there is another verse which said vipaschita. Vipaschita means a learned man. So what is that force that even a learned man, somebody who knows, somebody may even have an experience, but what is it that drags one or impels one to act in a way that one should not be acting? So then Krishna explains this is lust only. It's just lust only. And of course lust can be manifested in many ways, but most prominently it is manifested through the desire of interacting with the opposite sex. So that's lust. And we see that everyone becomes blinded by that lust, and that lust, what is the function of that lust, is destroys all the knowledge that one might be having. So that's why lust is very, very dangerous. Iha Vairinam, Krishna is saying to Arjuna, Iha Vairinam, it's the greatest enemy. We may think our enemies are, I don't know who you want to consider your enemies. Maybe China, Pakistan, this, that, I don't know. But no, your real enemy is your own lust. If you can conquer that, you've conquered the whole world already. That's the real enemy. So therefore, wherever mind wanders, because it has, like it said here, flickering, unsteady nature, it's very difficult. We know how it's difficult to control the mind, right? If you want to sit and chant and focus on the holy names or focus on studies even, it's not so easy, it's difficult, because that's the nature of the mind. It's unsteady, it's flickering. But why is it so? Anybody knows why is mind unsteady and flickering? Because this is the nature of conditioned mind, not the liberated mind. That's something we have to understand. But what is the nature? What is conditioned mind? Why is mind unsteady and flickering? Anyone can say? 1 second. Anyone else? Wait a second. I didn't call it. Anybody else? Why is mind unsteady and flickering? Anybody knows this? Sometimes we've discussed those things. Would anyone know? 1 second. We have something here in the chat box. No. Commentaries. Yes, behind. Yes.
Because in our mind there are many types of thoughts that we are not focused.
We are many types of what in our mind? Thoughts. Okay, that's true. Fine, that's correct. Danish, what do you want to say?
Because we want to be most important. Mokta. That's why mind has to keep going here and there.
Mind wants to be enjoyer. That's not so precise, but okay. Okay, Kiran.
Because it was never trained to focus.
It was never trained to focus. Okay, that's also there. Yes? It's controlled by the senses, yes, but why? Why? Both ways. Mind controls senses, senses can affect the mind. Dhruva.
It's the job of the mind to keep us in the material.
To do what?
It's the job of the mind to keep us in the material world.
It's the job of the mind to keep us in the material world. Yes, but it's a job also to liberate you. Both ways. Can be your best friend, can be your worst enemy. Ripur or Bandhu can be both. Shiva. Because it's not controlled. But why, Baba? I'm asking why. Desires, so many desires, acting upon vegetation, acting upon desires, fine.
Mind comes in touch with material energy and becomes contaminated.
Mind comes in touch with material energy, becomes contaminated. That's true. Okay, so some of those things that you have mentioned are correct, but the main reason is that the mind is born out of which mode? Who knows that? Okay, Om raised his hand. You didn't raise your hand.
Passion.
Passion, wrong. Well, now how many choices are left?
All three modes.
All three modes. Yeah. Well, now it's all three. Maybe it's none. Maybe it's none of those. I mean, pick your choice. It's like, yeah, who knows? Don't guess. Now well, you use your choice. Darkest ignorance. Now we have ignorance, we have darkest ignorance, we have light ignorance. Somebody said, who said? Something. So the answer that was correct. Goodness. Goodness. Mind is born of the mode of goodness. Paul Siegel, interacting with the mode of goodness, that's the origin of the material mind. We all have spiritual mind which is covered now by the material mind. Originally, when you go back to spiritual world, you have the mind, but that's the spiritual mind, which is no different than your spiritual body. It just has a function of the mind. Spiritual body, which has the function of the mind, is your spiritual mind. But when you come to the material world, in order to interact with material energy, then you receive the material mind, which is born of false ego. False means identity. You start identifying with that particular type of matter, that particular type of medium, and then the mind is born, so that you can interact with material energy. So mode of goodness, but what it means, desires. You said so many thoughts, right? Becomes uncontrollable. So many desires, it becomes uncontrollable. That's mode of passion. That's mode of passion. We keep mind in the mode of passion. So as long as the mind is mode of, if you keep so many inputs giving into the mind, which nowadays everybody does. Nowadays, who can sit down and read a book peacefully for some time? It becomes so difficult. If you have some video, then definitely you will become interested and mind will be, yes, this is very nice. No? Mode of passion. That's not mode of goodness, it's mode of passion. We like mode of passion. We think that mind likes mode of passion, but that's not true. Because as soon as you start watching or something, then mind will start thinking, what about this, what about this, what about that? Can you notice that? Sometimes, at least if you didn't so far. Even if you watch, let's say you watch some movie or something, still mind will keep on coming with different thoughts, different ideas, different things. Or will want to discuss, comment, whatever it is. Mind will become so active and so uncontrollable also. So that's mode of passion. The worst, of course, is keeping mind in the mode of ignorance. But predominantly, mostly, it's the mode of passion. But mind is not happy and satisfied in the mode of passion because it's not born of it. It's born of mode of goodness. So, and of course, we know unless you're peaceful, you can't be happy. Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita many times, over and over, several times. He said, unless, anyway, that's Sanskrit verses. Unless one is peaceful, you cannot be happy. You can have the whole universe, but if you're not peaceful, you can't enjoy that universe. So no matter what you attain, what you have, unless your mind is peaceful, your mind is disturbed, your mind is stressful, your mind is in anxiety, your mind is in ignorance, you cannot be happy and satisfied. It's not going to work. So what is spiritual process? Actually, every process within spiritual sphere, it aims at controlling the mind. And how is then therefore mind control? This is what we're discussing here. This is dhyana yoga. Dhyana yoga, that also. How to control the mind. So mind is controlled by pacifying the mind, by purifying the mind, bringing it at least to the mode of goodness. Then you can see how you can be happy and enjoy. Because that's the greatest happiness and enjoyment. You see people, that they can become very refined when they enjoy the mode of goodness. That peacefulness, that certain kind of art, emotions. It's far greater enjoyment than when you engage, let's say, senses with the other objects of the senses or something that is more of passion, or running around with great speed, risking your life or something. Yeah, it's a thrill. It's kind of another kind of a drug you're injecting in your system, and you think mind will be happy by this, but it's not happy by this. It's not really satiated. It's not really satisfied. It's okay. Where is another tree? Like, I need another one. I just saw recently there was. My mother was watching. I just entered at the time. There was some movie called Everest. Anyway, I shouldn't have said, but anyway, I said because it's nothing. It's some old movie. It was based on a real event. In 1996, there was one expedition, mostly American, climbers, trekking people, whatever how you want to call them, people who climbed. So they were going to the Everest. I don't know how many of them, maybe around 20 or something. So they wanted to conquer the Mount Everest, of course. That's not an easy thing because it's very high, there's very low oxygen, and it's almost pretty much, very often it happens, somebody definitely dies. It's not a joke. Of course, there are other even worse, more dangerous places, like K1, K2 in Pakistan or somewhere. I don't know where they are, somewhere there. That's even more difficult. Any kind of such risking things that people think, yes, it's an adventure. It's an adventure and it's amazing and let's go, but it's extremely dangerous. It's extremely dangerous. It's not just the terrain that you have to go through, but it's especially so even that altitude, that there is no oxygen, and they were carrying oxygen, and that all kinds of dramas were going on. All kinds of dramas. And I'll tell you the end results. Anyway, I won't describe what was going on because I have to admit I was glued for a few minutes. I want to see what will happen because it was based on real event. And quite a number of them didn't come back. Why? Because they were caught in a storm, which very often happens. And storms are, I don't know, anyone have been to Himalayas? I've been quite some time up in Himalayas, and it can be very, 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 very unpleasant, especially if you sometimes are caught by the rain or something. Then you have either landslides, or you have, it becomes very slippery like this, very extremely cold snow. Once I was caught in Kashmir. I was going from Amarnath down, and anyway, that's another story. And I was just in Chapels, and up there you have snow. Not a good idea, but I've been told from now you're just going down, but it wasn't fact. You were still going further up. Anyway, so it can be very cold, extremely cold. So then what happened? Many of them ran out of the oxygen, and some of them were like extremely exhausted. It's very physically exhausting. But people think, when you go for something like this, that's the whole point. Oh, it's a thrill, it's an adventure. Wow, let's go, let's do it. Let's have some wild experience, something. But it was really wild, How did they end up? And there was one man, his wife called the embassy to send a helicopter to save him kind of from certain. But helicopter can't fly on such height. There's no air. It just can't function. So somehow or other they managed. There was all drama. How did this happen? And they pulled him back, but then he spent the night outside on the cold. I don't know how many degrees it gets below zero. It's like crazy. It's just really amazingly cold. It's just freezing cold. What we get in Europe, it's like -10 or something. That's like, ooh. But they were more than 20, 30, maybe 40. I don't know. It's like freezing cold. It's just so painful. It's easier to tolerate the heat than the cold. So then that one man, his hands froze, completely froze. And then when he was saved afterwards, what happens, it becomes like an ice. Like your, let's say, ears or nose, if they're exposed to severe cold. And if you just do like this, the nose is gone. Yeah, just cracks in a second, very easily. Just like ice. If you have, thin ice, just do like this, it just cracks. It's gone. It's finished. So his hands and nose were gone. his wife, I was just thinking, anyway, that was just my view a little bit. His wife wanted him to come back so, eagerly and in so much anxiety and everything, but just imagine you get husband back, but then what do you do with that husband? You have to take care of that husband the rest of his life, I was just thinking whether she was really happy afterwards or not. That was just my perception. That's pretty heavy a little bit, but that's a fact, that was not shown. Yeah, she must have been extremely miserable. This fellow can't do anything. Yeah, and he's not attractive anymore. He lost his nose. He's like Schubernacker or something. It's like, yeah. So that was heavy, and of course, many other people died. They left their bodies. They just got frozen, and then when such a freezing heat, they felt hot. They felt burning. Because like when you have a fever, right? Fever, it's cold, but you're burning from inside. So they were like removing everything from I just feel so hot, and then they were falling down, and it's like all kinds of. And that's thrill. That's the crazy minds. We need some thrill. We want to experience some adventure. We want to experience some. There was some other movie anyway. That's. People go and do all kinds of such as surfing, jumping from heights, this, that. My brother once he was kind of practicing parachuting and this and that. And once he nicely bumped his back, I didn't do it then again anymore. No, it's not. You have to practice. You have to learn really how to do things properly. It's not so. So it's a thrill, and they'll do all kinds of wild things. Yeah, but or they go for skiing or snowboarding or this and that, all kinds of things people will do, because mind is crazy. Mind is in the mode of passion. It needs that kind of, okay, you may say that's some excitement. Yes, there is some excitement, but what could be the consequences? That's what we don't consider when mind is in the mode of passion. What are the consequences of such kind of so-called thrills? Extremely dangerous, what they call the extreme sports or stuff, I don't know if they introduced them to Olympics, something, there was some discussions earlier, extreme sports, doing extreme, but it's extremely dangerous. And then what if you don't make it? Either your life is gone, okay, even if your life is gone, that's nice. But if you remain crippled for life, unable to move, or who knows what may happen, then what kind of life is that? You have thrill for several seconds, and the rest of the life. We had one devotee here. He fell from the second floor. Nothing happened to him. Actually, when this building was constructed, everybody moved from Brahmacharya ashram something, and then there was some renovation going on, and everybody was here, and these halls were just being constructed, and the nighttime was something, I don't know what happened, he just fell down there on the other side. Luckily, nothing happened to him, but there was another devotee, he was climbing a tree, same height. That was a heavy thing. He underwent several operations, crushed his feet to powder. He has to go to urinate, every half an hour. Has troubles with kidneys, I won't tell you, it's hellish life. It's hellish life, so you never know what may happen. There was one lady, she survived the airplane, crash from 10,000 feet. All kinds of things happen. And somebody just falls down, whatever, it may, who knows what may happen. Not minor thing apparently, but then very great damage to the body. So all kinds of such kind of risking things, that's mode of passion. So is it really worth it? Is it really worth it? And most often we know it ends up with some kind of dire consequences. But mind in the mode of goodness, you see, it's another kind of thrill. It's another kind of enjoyment. It's another kind of experience. And actually, it's far more exciting than in the mode of passion. You might not believe it unless you really are somewhat exposed to it, trained, and you may by being in the mode of goodness, being able to relish something like this. That's when you put the mind in the mode of goodness. So that's why every yoga process, it's so much more greater process, or so much more greater experience, especially if you can connect mind to somebody who is the source of everything, which is Krishna, and then you can't imagine how much fun and excitement is there. You read Krishna book, coward boys, what kind of, even more wilder things they do than, you may be thinking that's adventurous, but that's transcendental. That's transcendental. It's not that there is no fun in the spiritual world and everybody's like a robot or something, I don't know, and everybody's just praying. No, spiritual life, if there is any fun, that's the spiritual world. There's so much adventure. But then you have such body, nothing ever happens to you. That's also there. You never die. You're always alive. And it's always enjoyment. That's a real fun. I mean, Krishna goes in Arjuna, they keep on shooting all over the universe and this and that, all kinds of things. It's much greater fun. But if you want to have that kind of experience, then first you have to bring your mind to the mode of goodness, and then purify that mind, and then you'll have the spiritual mind, which can then have that kind of transcendental experience. And then it won't be so crazy and flickering, like it said, and just looking for something else and this and that. No, it will be steady, it will be fixed, because it's fixed on something that's transcendental. That's the spiritual mind. So that's the whole point and the process of the bhakti yoga also. First, to catch the mind. It's not point of controlling it. How do you control the mind? It's not easy to control the mind. You don't control it. It's like, therefore another analogy is given in the Upanishads. It said it's like a wild horse. And you have experiences with wild horses or wild anything, anything wild. It's wild, you can't trust it. It's just unpredictable. And it's extremely dangerous. It's just filled with energy, that goes against you, whom you're trying. If you're trying to control. So that's what the mind is like. So therefore, there is a process. How to, first of all, you have to calm the mind. How do we calm the mind? Anybody knows? You know how to calm the mind, how to control the mind? I want to see hands first. How do you calm the mind? Yes. By chanting, yes. By our chanting is not so effective, and our chanting is also riddled with so many different kinds of thoughts going all over the universe. That's a little more difficult. What else? That's correct. I'm not saying that, but it's more difficult. What else? Yes. You should put your senses in service of Krishna. Fine, that's also correct. We should also engage our senses in serving Krishna. Yes. By reading Krishna book, yes, but also to read, you have to have somewhat calm mind, right? Your mind has to agree to start reading something. That's also not easy. Many times, why should I read? Better I watch something. That's what we said earlier. But it's correct, yes. But what else? By eating Mahaprasadam,
With the help of intelligence, means Krishna.
Using senses in Krishna, we already said that.
With the help of Krishna conscious intelligence.
Krishna conscious intelligence, yes, okay, that's fine. What else?
By Vyom.
By what?
Vyom.
Okay, pranayam. By pranayam, yes, that's correct, because mind is dwelling on airs. The breath is, if you don't breathe, of course, you control the mind by the breath. And if you stop breathing, there will be stop of disturbance for the mind. But if you do it too long, then that's you have to know the art. You can't. Anything else? How do we control the mind? It's because crazy. It's flickering. It's unsteady. One should certainly withdraw it back under the control of the self. How do we do that? What else? What is the very effective method? Surrendering.
Hare Krishna.
What? One second.
Surrendering to Krishna.
Surrendering to Krishna. But what is practically there? How do you surrender? Yes. Wait a second. I still didn't hear what I want to hear. Seeing our thoughts. You can't see your thoughts. You'll see all kinds of things, and it will be unending. Where do you stop? Which one do you focus on? And again, you can't focus. It's not going to work. What else? Meditate. How you meditate? It's going to be so difficult. Mind is so crazy. Yes.
My practice.
Which practice? That we said already. You're not telling me what I want to hear. Yes, Dhruva.
We should ignore the mind.
We should. You could try, but it's not going to work so well. 1 second. Let me just,
By associating with those who control the mind.
By associating with those who control the mind. Maybe. Yes, there was some hand behind.
Do our duties according to Shastra.
But it's not easy to do our duties. I always want to do something else. I was telling someone today you should do your duty. I was like looking at me. Yeah, sure. It's like, and I knew it's not going to happen. Huh?
By sleeping.
By sleeping. Oh, no way. But you're not dreaming when you're sleeping? Can you control your dreams? Absolutely not. So that's not going to work. Yes.
Always think of Krishna.
Always think, but how you always think of Krishna? It's not easy. Yes, we want that, but how to achieve it? Ganesh, you raise your hand.
Hearing, by hearing.
By
By desire.
No, both are wrong. Anyway, both are correct, but that's not what I want to hear. Yes.
Detachment practice.
Detachment practice. Yes, that's what Krishna said. Abhyasina tu koteya vairagena chagriyate. That's also there, but something else you didn't say. I guess nobody's doing that. Okay. Anybody online? Yes. Vidhi. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, by Smaran, Kirtan, Pad Sevanam, Vishnu,
Yes, that's also.
and by hearing the Vani of a pure devotee, like Srila Prabhupada.
Okay. Yes, that's there, but that's not what I wanted to do. That's correct also, but something else. Yes.
Using
Music. Yeah, but even music, when you're listening, mind goes,
using one's intelligence, following
Using
instructions.
We said that.
Following instructions.
Yeah, we said it's not easy. Both things are tough. I mean, everything is tough, but something I just want to hear nobody said. That's many things are correct. I'm not saying that's fine, but nobody said
By surrendering.
by surrendering. What kind of surrendering? No, that's not way. Anything, something else.
By giving up and by detaching and attaching to Krishna consciousness and detaching.
But okay, detachment, that's also there, but that's not easy. Something else, Great. We already said engaging senses with the, in the work of Krishna or serving Krishna. We said it, so that's fine. Okay, nobody said it. Seems like nobody. Okay, Kanish, your last chance.
Without mercy of Krishna.
And without mercy of Krishna. But then everything you have to start doing something. It's not everything depending on Krishna. Krishna is giving you the whole process. You do something. Deepak.
Control the senses.
How do you control the senses?
Giving them.
By giving.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Bolo.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. By engaging in knowledge and practicing vairagya.
We already said it. Okay, thank you. But correct. Okay, should I tell?
Yes.
And you will not like that. I know that. You will not like it, but actually it is something that works the best for the mind. Fasting. and this is why today we have arranged today there is no dinner prasadam. Haribo! Yes, by fasting. Now when you fast a little bit, you will realize how your mind becomes even more crazy. There is something to eat. No. We have something? No? Something is there. Yeah, something is there. Okay. Something is there. But actually, if you would have been fasting, you would see how your mind and senses would calm down. And then on top of that, then you start doing all of these things which you've mentioned. Then it will have an effect. Pranayama also, when you cool down the breath and it's like, so it's kind of little starvation for the mind. And that brings him from the mode of passion, it brings him straight to the mode of goodness. And then you can mold it. Then you can mold it. The example is given like how do you tame the tiger? You know how they tame the tiger? They starve the tiger. Any beast, any beast, talking about anyway, any beast, how do you tame the beast? You starve the beast. Not till point of death, but almost nearby. You starve the beast. So they starve the tiger, and then the one who is training the tiger, then he enters the cage. Then he sees when tiger is quite weak. So when your senses are weak, your mind is weak, then you can do anything with it. And then he has the chair and the whip. And then it goes, and then tiger has to oblige. Tiger has to oblige and just runs in the corner and hides, and then it's beaten, and That's how we beat the mind. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said, every morning and evening you should beat your mind with the broom and the shoes and whatever else you get. Beat your mind. So that means not allowing mind to do whatever the mind wants to do. You have to restrict it. And the best way to restrict the mind, just don't feed the mind. Give him a little fasting. That's why today is Ekadashi. And mind, it's the most wild, pretty much from Ekadashi till Purnima, especially the Shukla Paksha, becomes more restless. But when you fast it, when you starve it, then it's not disturbing to us. That's another good reason to fast. Not just for purifying the body, giving the body a little holiday, but to control the mind. So fasting is the best remedy. If you can fast on Ekadashi, that would be the most wonderful thing. That's only twice a month. Just fast. You don't have to eat whole day. Anyone ever did it? You can make yourself busy. You can do so many things. Just forget about it. You just forget about it. And the day goes just like this. And next day, then you can start eating again. No problem. It's like one day. What's the one day? People, sadhus have been fasting for days. 4 days. And sometimes they just eat, it's just whenever it comes. It's like that. But to do that, you have to start controlling your mind also. It's not easy. It's a challenge. It is a challenge. Sometimes people, sometimes when you're addicted, like you're addicted to everyday eating, sometimes when you start fasting, you may start getting headaches. Like somebody who is addicted to tea, and one day, like my mother, I forced her one day, and I said, now it's Ekadashi, please, and I cooked for her Ekadashi stuff, and I said, okay, please just eat Ekadashi, no grains. And then she takes coffee every morning. I said, no coffee either, She agreed somehow. I was forcing, She knew I'm leaving, so she became subservient out of affection. So then I was able to control the situation. So I said, okay, now we fast on Ekadashi nicely. And then she said she felt headache. Why? Because every day she's drinking coffee, which is addictive. And then she felt headache. But somehow, I was encouraging her, so she managed through, I said, next morning you can have coffee, what to do. But today there's no coffee. So like this, fasting. When you can fast, so then the tiger will start cooperating. Then you can do whatever you want with the tiger. So then mind is also molded like this. And when you fast, then what happens? Then that mind becomes a medium. Then you can start hearing not just your crazy mind, because many times we say you hear voices, right? You hear instructions, you hear so many things. So, but what is it? What is it? Is it some third living being, in the subtle form or something? Is it our crazy mind, which is like a tape, repeating certain stuff by being exposed to some whatever circumstances, environment, this and that? Or it's the super soul, or it's Krishna, Paramatma, trying to communicate with us. What is it? So if you fast, then you'll just see, it's amazing how you can hear Krishna. This is spiritual process. Then mind becomes transparent. Mind comes to the mode of goodness. Then mind is your best friend. Then he transmits Krishna. And then you can hear Krishna talking, instructing you. Try that. That is spiritual life. And you want to say, oh, I want to have a relationship with Krishna. You can have it right now. Do a little fasting. Starve the mind and senses a little bit. Then you'll start hearing Krishna. Because now you're not doing that. Mind is so hyper. Senses are so hyper. You're just hearing them. But when you practice the process, then you can start hearing Krishna. There's one devotee. He was kidnapped by certain programmers. He was just very young in US. And there were certain people who were, in the beginning when this movement started, they were having such kind of agenda to kidnap devotees and try to reprogram them back to be kind of materialists. And most often they didn't succeed. They couldn't do anything. Devotees would chant Maha Mantra even in the sleep, or something. It's like, or even if they would erase all their memory or whatever, they were doing nasty things. Devotees would still chant. It's amazing. They couldn't erase that. That's the power of chanting. But anyway, that devotee, so then he was thinking, what do I do? How do I escape? How do I, whatever? And then he was fasting. And then when he had there was some interrogation and some other things going on. And then he heard the voice from within. Krishna was telling him, giving him instruction. You say like this. He did say like that. Then he told him, you do like this. He did like that. Just snap it. He was out like that. He was just following Paramatma, Krishna telling him what to do. And he said, I was able to do that because I was fasting. And my mind was peaceful, under control, and my senses were peaceful, under control. And I could hear Krishna giving me directions, what should I do? So that's how you control your mind. Withdraw your mind, bring it under the control of the self. Of course, Prabhupada also explains in the purport here, we don't have time now what to do with it. We'll do that next time. Next Thursday we'll have commentaries and purport. Anyway, so any questions or comments?
How mind will
Did I call upon? This is crazy mind. You can't control. Really, you can't control anything. Immediately start speaking. Deepak first.
So Krishna says that I am the adventure.
Okay, Krishna says I'm the adventure. Fine.
Yeah, but now we discuss that sometimes people do adventures.
Yes, people do adventures. Yeah, but the different kinds of adventure. It's not all the same, no? Spiritual life, it's an adventure. I came to India when I was 21. I had no idea what I'm doing. And I'm here in India since. I never planned like this. That was an adventure. It still is. Anyway, so many other things. Yatras, they are adventure, but we shouldn't do crazy things also. It's not that we challenge the nature or something. Adventure doesn't mean, again, mode of ignorance and passion. Adventure can be in the mode of goodness. No, or transcendental. No, everything is of three qualities. Okay, Shiva, go on.
How mind will allow us to do fasting?
How mind will? It will not allow you, but that's why you have to use your intelligence and convince the mind, make him busy, expose him to hearing, reading, chanting, doing something for Krishna. You did before something? You did some fasting? You really? So, okay, so you see, so you survived, you're still here. So that's how you convince your mind. You see, it wasn't so bad, it wasn't so difficult, no? But mind will give you all kinds of reasons and arguments not to do it, no? But you did it, and that makes you stronger. You see, mind puts so many limits upon you. How did people, break the world record, this record, that record, anything? Did you? By controlling the mind first. You visualize first in your mind everything and meditate upon it and do so many things. Rehearsals or something, you work on your mind. And then slowly, when you prepare your mind, then you just do it. So that's what you do with your intelligence. You prepare your mind. How to be celibate in life. You have to prepare your mind. It's not going to just happen overnight. You have to prepare the mind. Same thing. The example is given like fasting. You prepare the day before. Okay, tomorrow is Ekadashi, which is today. And then I'm just going to do this. You plan your day a little bit and just stay away from prasadam. Or even you can serve prasadam. That's the best if you can do that. You give it to others, but you don't take it. That will also make you satiated and satisfied. Really, it works. It's amazing. But again, you have to prepare your mind. Otherwise, you will fall down. You will not succeed. Okay. Any other questions or comments? You have just maybe something left. Yes.
I sometimes I was in visualization, but like I'm not in that much in goodness. I was actually passionate and like not able to.
Yeah. So in some cases it takes time. Depends how deep ignorance and passion are. It's a process, no? Every process takes some time. Okay. And we think, we've been living such a wild lives before and everything, and we suddenly think, okay, within only a few years, things should be just completely contrary or different. It doesn't happen like this. It takes time. It takes time. Mind is filled with impressions. Mind is filled with passions. Okay, so then we'll stop here. So Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.